Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday of this week. I hope you all are doing well today, and welcome to another lesson video. Once again, today I'm going to be keeping things pretty simple. Like I said yesterday, we probably won't be getting into any English content until Thursday or Friday. In fact, let me sort of show you what the rest of our week is going to look like. And I'm actually, after I finish this video, I'm going to be posting an agenda onto each of your all's classrooms. So be on the lookout for that. Um, and that way you can see throughout the week what we're doing. I know a lot of you would probably prefer an agenda just so you know what the week's going to look like and everything like that. But today we're going to be talking about email etiquette, and I'm going to be just reminding you all about online expectations and everything like that. If you all haven't joined some Google Classrooms, go ahead and do that, but I think most of you all are good now. I think almost all of you are in my class, if not all of you are in my Google Classroom, so I think we're good to go. And then we're going to be doing an email etiquette practice assignment today. I'm going to show you all what that looks like, and that'll be due this Friday along with your digital syllabus signature. And that's going to be the only other assignment due this Friday. I'm not going to be making anything else due. I think that'll be enough for this week, so I'll keep that simple. And then tomorrow, oops, I don't know why September 3rd is repeating what we're doing that day. But tomorrow, we're going to be doing our first journal entry, and I'll be explaining what the journal entries will be like. Then I'll be explaining the units that we'll be learning, and then there will be a get to know each other activity. I'm going to figure out what that looks like by the end of today. I'm not sure how long that's going to be, and that won't be due by the end of the day, so I'll delete that. And then there will be an anticipation guide that day. And then September 3rd, let's see, there's going to be something different done that day, so ignore that. But there will be a writing journal. I'll give you all that day. Instead of posting a lesson, I'll give you all that day to work on your email etiquette stuff if you need to that day. So that day will be like a work day. I'm going to try to keep one day a week open at least for doing work. So I'll delete this and put work day. It'll be my goal to make one day a week a day where I don't post any new content and instead give you all that day to work, because I think that will be important, at least for these first couple of weeks of online learning, just so you all can get into the groove of things and everything like that. I think a work day would just be very helpful for catching up on my assignments and on other people's assignments too, because I'm not the only one giving you all assignments, obviously. So having that day to work would be very helpful for you all, I think. And maybe once we get more into the groove of things, I'll take away the work day. But if you all really like having that day to work, then I will keep it for as long as we need. And then on Friday, I'll be reviewing stuff. No new content on Friday. I'll be reminding you all about what's due. And then, of course, there'll be no school on Monday. And I'm going to have a mini checklist. And this checklist, I do want you all to turn it in, but there's no pressure to turn it in right away or anything like that. And I'll explain that more on Friday. But yeah, that's what we have for the week. So hopefully you all have a general idea of where we're going. And I have the next couple of weeks planned out, so I will have an agenda posted on Google Classroom soon. Now, let me go over what we're going over today. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about email etiquette. Now, of course, we're going to be, let me move my camera, we're going to be online for the foreseeable future, like I've said several times now. And something we're going to be doing a lot is communicating to each other via email. And it's going to be very important for us to have good communication with each other via email. Now, it doesn't always have to be communication through email. I can make phone calls and stuff like that. But I know some of you all won't always have time to answer phone calls, and things can just as easily get lost in translation in phone calls as it can in emails. And sometimes playing phone tag can be really inconvenient, whereas with email, it can be easier because you immediately see that email and you immediately respond to it. So email etiquette is going to be really important. Plus, this will help you with, practicing some good English skills. So this is very relevant to our class, and not only to our class, but other classes during this time. So I thought it was very important to talk about this. Now, like I just said, we're learning extensively online. Something we'll be doing frequently is emailing one another. I'll be emailing you all. You all will probably be emailing me as we get more deep into assignments in the next couple of weeks. So, how should a proper email look is something you might be asking. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I just used my email to give you a template of the general thing you're going to get when you send an email on Outlook, because that's what we use for our email addresses. So up here is the person who you're sending the email to. I think you all probably know that by now. Whoever is the main recipient of your email, the person who you're sending the email to. And then the CC, some of you all may not be familiar with this. I imagine most of you all haven't really used this line that much. But this is other people who can also read the email. So other people that you can include in the email and stuff, and they can reply to it too if you include them in this line. So that's what the CC is for. Now this here is the subject line. Now this part is very important, and I think in general it can be very easy to forget to add a subject. And some of you all who have sent me emails have not always included a subject. Now, of course, you wouldn't know that I expected that of you yet because I hadn't taught this lesson, but it's important to include a subject line. I think it just helps with keeping the email formal and everything like that, and it helps the person know what you're emailing them about even before they open the email. It's like when you write an essay and you have an opening paragraph, and that opening paragraph tells the people what the purpose of the essay is. This is the opening paragraph of the email, essentially, except it only has to be a couple of words as opposed to a whole paragraph. Now, this here is, of course, the main body of your email. So this is what you're going to be writing the email to, what you're going to be writing about. And then this down here is your signature or your sign off. Now, you don't have to have a signature like mine. You don't have to have one as fancy as mine, like telling everything about yourself. But it can just easily be your name. And you have to have some sort of sign off too, which I'll explain that in just a second. But you do need a signature in each of your emails. I mean, some of you might think, why do I really need that if I have if the person can see who the email is from when the email is sent? And that's a fair question because the person will be able to see what email it's from. But still, I think it's just good practice to put your name formally in the email itself so that the person doesn't have to search around and look in other parts of the email. It'll just be easier if it's included in the main part of the email where it is easily accessed. All right. So what a good email should not have. A good email shouldn't have misspelled words. This is a given, especially when we're communicating between teachers and even between ourselves at times. There shouldn't be anything misspelled, especially in a school setting, because you're trying to be formal, you're trying to keep that formal tone. So having misspelled words is something that's just not ideal, and it can create easy miscommunication if a word is misspelled. Also, bad grammar. There shouldn't be bad grammar because if you do have bad grammar, that can make the email confusing. And of course, as we get more and more into grammar concepts, hopefully any potential of poor grammar or anything like that will be solved and everything like that. There's some grammar that you all may not know for sure about, so if you aren't for sure, just make your best guess and everything like that. I'm not going to penalize you or anything for having grammar that you're not for certain about, but there's certain things that like commas and periods and stuff like that that really should be a given. Beginnings of sentences without capitalization. Now, I have received emails from some of you all where you all haven't capitalize the first letter of each sentence. This is something that you need to do, really. Because once again, it's something that just helps create that formal, respectful tone and makes the email just look better. A presentation of an email is more important than you might think it is, really, and there's reasons for that, which I'll get into later. But just capitalize words, use proper English and capitalize the beginnings of sentences if you could. Demanding tone. Now, this one might sound silly to some of you all, but I think the tone of an email is important as well. If you're sounding like you're being overbearing or demanding to the person, then that makes the email look worse for you. And I've had this mistake too. I've made this mistake before. It's just consider your tone when you're making an email. Don't make it seem like you're entitled to whatever you're asking for. That's just a general courtesy rule, so keep that in mind. An email shouldn't have no signature at all. So there just needs to be a sign off, like from whoever, from sincerely whoever, whatever. And it'll depend on the email, of course, what type of sign off you have. Sincerely will, of course, be for the much more formal emails. With an email with me, I'm fine if you put like thank you, comma, and then sign off. Anything like that is fine with me, but some sort of sign off is needed. No intro. Now I'll show you an example of what a good intro looks like in just a second, but before you get into your email, you need to sort of establish what your email is about. Maybe even introduce yourself if the person doesn't know you well, so that's really important to begin your email off with some sort of introduction so that your email just isn't super confusing, and it helps the person have an establishing of what you're wanting and stuff like that. No unnecessary emojis or pictures. You all haven't had this problem yet, so I don't think you all are going to have this problem, but don't include emojis and pictures in your email unless they're relevant in some way, but for the most part, they will not be, so just don't include them in general. Lack of a subject line. Once again, this is the subject of the email right here, and if you don't have a subject, then I just think a subject is important for any type of email, no matter whether it's a super formal email or one where you're just asking a question. You still need to have a subject line so that the person knows what type of things they're delving into. Okay, so let me show you a bad email example. I created this example myself, of course, and I'm going to show you all a good email example as well. Now, I sent this email, well, I didn't send this, but I created it to Mr. Gagne, and as you can tell, there are several things wrong with my email. First of all, I don't have a subject line here. So Mr. Gagne cannot know what my email is about, and I think that's just bad habit, because the first thing a person is going to see before they open your email is the subject line, because the rest of the email is sort of faded out before you open it. I'm sure you all have noticed that with Outlook, and the subject is just the first thing that pops off the page before anything else. So be sure to include a subject line. That's really the big reason. It's the first thing the person sees, and it's the thing that'll help them open the email. If there's not a subject line, then the communication will already be a little weaker than it should be, So now I'm going to go to the body of my email. So, Mr. Gagne, I want a new set of pens for my classroom, please. Give them to me by next week. Now, something that I think is important is that you shouldn't put the name and the message in the same line. Now, let me create a pointer here. So, Mr. Gagne's name and the message, this all here is the message, are all in the same line. I don't think that is good for an email. Think about an email as if you're writing a letter, just online, an online letter. When you're writing a letter, you don't include your message in right with the name, right? So the same concept goes for an email. You need to put your whole line, your new message, in a separate paragraph, as opposed to having it in the same place as the person you're sending the email to. Now, some of you in your emails have not addressed the person you're emailing. So some of you who have sent an email haven't even put, the person's name in the email. So when you email me, for an example, you don't even have, let me get a pen out. You don't even have my name in the line, and you just have the message. Now that you simply can't do. I think in any email, once again, no matter how formal or informal it is, you need to have the name in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase that. You need to include the name in the email no matter what. That's just sort of a general respect thing, So let me go back to this. Okay. Now, more stuff that is wrong with this email. There's no comma here. I want a new set of pens for my classroom, please. Because this please is not essential to the sentence, you could take it out if you wanted to. Proper grammar is important to the email. Now, if you all didn't know this for sure, if you didn't know what type of grammar you need, if you didn't know about a comma, I'm not going to penalize you for this, but just think about grammar while you're writing your email. And as we get more and more advanced in grammar, I'm going to expect you all more and more throughout the year to include good grammar in your emails. I'm sure you all noticed this when you all were viewing this video, but the G in give is not capitalized, and it's a new sentence, so we need to be sure to capitalize the beginning of each letter. Rude tone. Now, this first part of the sentence is not necessarily a rude tone. I want a new set of pens for my classroom, please. And a rude tone, like a formal tone, doesn't necessarily mean you have to say please. I'm not expecting you all to say please in every one of your emails or anything like that. Sometimes that's not necessary for an email. But there is something about this sentence that I think it just comes off as rude and a little bit demanding. Give them to me by next week. It's very commanding, and it's almost like you're saying you're entitled to the pens. It's almost like I was saying I was entitled to the pens before even getting them, and I think that just makes you not look as good in the email. Now, I didn't intend to be rude, is the thing, and I'm sure most of you all, when you're typing, don't intend to be rude when you're saying a certain thing, but tone in a online format is so important because obviously you aren't talking to the person when you're typing an email. They can't hear the tone of your voice. All they can see is the text, and the text brings across tone. I'm sure a lot of you all, when you have texted between your friends, and I know this is for my case too, sometimes the tone has come across in the way you didn't intend it to. Sometimes it's come across as rude when it wasn't meant to be. So in an email, it's just important to be cautious, especially if you're sending it to another teacher or even to a peer. It doesn't really matter either way. Try to keep the tone as either formal or respectful as possible. That means trying not to use commanding language and things like that, like give them to me by next week. Speak sentences out loud before you send an email if you're really uncertain. Have someone else read your email as well if you're really thinking you're not sure about if the email is formal or courteous enough or anything like that. It's just important to try to keep that tone, friendly or keep it formal. And finally, I have no signature here. So all I have is a message, but no signature, which I think is just not proper for any type of email. That's my personal preference, and that will be the preference of pretty much anyone else, I would say, anyone else you talk to. So that's a bad email example. Now, I'm going to take away this pointer for the moment. A good email should have so here's what a good email needs. Proper and formal grammar. Now, for certain emails, formal grammar will not be necessary. And for me personally, I'm not expecting you all to be super formal with me. That's just not something that I expect out of you all. But using proper grammar is important to me, just so I know what you all are communicating and everything like that. Capitalizing at the beginning of each new sentence. Like I said, some of you all in your emails haven't capitalized. Most of you have, but there are a couple of you who didn't, so just please be sure to do that. Courteous or friendly tone. Courteous and friendly are not the same thing. Courteous just generally means you're being, nice or just respectful in the email. You're not sounding demanding. Friendly is meant for less formal emails, and that's fine if you take that tone with me. Just being generally friendly and sort of informal is okay with me. Signature, so a person knows who you are. Once again, I've already explained this, but I think it's important to have some sort of signature. And then, sorry, I was blocking that. Okay, I'll read that out loud since the text is small. A subject line so the recipient knows what the email is about. Okay, let me go to a good email example now. So, a good email example. Once again, this is to Mr. Gagne. It's the same subject line, so I'm asking him for new pens. But this time, I'm doing all the proper things I need to do to make the email work. First of all, there is now a subject telling what the email is about, so school supplies. It doesn't have to be specifically saying like pens or whatever, but it has to be in general relating to whatever you're writing the email about. So for an example, if you missed an assignment we were doing, like maybe you missed out on a worksheet, you could say in your subject line, assignment missed, or something like that. So it doesn't have to exactly be what the thing is, but it has to relate to it pretty closely. Now, in the email, as you can tell, now I have a formal intro. This is what I mean by formal intro. Dear Mr. Gagne, and this is something I would generally do for almost any email, is just put that dear in front of it, unless you're really thinking that the person doesn't want that, or you're on a good enough relationship with the person that the dear isn't necessary. But this is just a generally good rule of thumb when you're opening up an email, is to have that dear in front of it as if you're writing a letter once again. So that's what I do with my emails. Dear Mr. Gagne. Or you could say, hello, Mr. Gagne, if you're wanting to take a less formal tone. That's fine with me for for emails you all send to me, just saying like hello or something like that. Now, let me read the rest of the email. I hope this email finds you well. I have recently run out of pens in my room. If there are any currently available, could I please receive some more? Thank you for your time. Sincerely, James Southworth. Now, several things that I'm sure you all have noticed with this email that are vastly different from my bad email example. First of all, before even getting into my email, something I generally do, and I mean, this isn't necessarily required for every email, but I think it's just a nice touch, is to start the email just with something sort of nice or sort of introducing to the person, something that sort of makes the email tone feel right and feel friendly, you know? So I just say, I hope this email finds you well. I open a lot of emails up like this, or just saying, I hope you're doing well. And if I don't know the person, then I would say, hi, my name is James Southworth, or something like that. So that's just something that I do personally, and I think it's a good habit to get into, even if it isn't required necessarily. I think it just adds a nice touch to your email. Also, proper capitalization. I have a period after room, I capitalize the I. So it goes without saying you need proper capitalization for your emails. If there are any currently available, can I please receive some more? Once again, good grammar. Let me get my pointer out again. I have a comma right here, so I need a comma there because the if is a dependent modifier, so I need a comma there. And once again, if you're not sure of grammar, if you're not sure of the proper grammar, I'm not going to penalize you, but try to keep with good grammar as much as you possibly can and to the best of your knowledge. And then, thank you for your time. Once again, the courteous tone here. I think this is also important to do, ending off the email with thanking the person for their time, thanking them for reading your email and everything like that. It just makes you look better in an email. It makes you look very formal and very welcoming to the person, and the person will be more likely to respond in a better way as well. I think you'll probably get more what you want in a better way if you have that courteous relationship established in the email. I think that's just really a pretty important thing to think about. And then my signature, sincerely, James Southworth. Now, once again, if you know the person or are on a more casual relationship with them, then you could put thank you here instead of sincerely or from, something like that. But always sign off with something like that and then your name afterwards. That's just good email etiquette practice. So some of you might be asking, why is email etiquette so important? And, fair question. Um, some of you all might think email's not that huge of a deal, it's just a way to communicate, but it can become very important in the future. You may not think it's such a big deal right now, but it can become a big deal later on. It makes your communication skills online clearer. And of course, this is important for online learning. And as you all are seeing, in unprecedented times like this, online communication has to be really clear, has to be really important. And I mean, it's not easy to do all the time. And even right now, we're still trying to figure out how to do communication to the best of our abilities in this completely online environment. So now is as good a time as any to make your online skills improve, your online communication skills a lot better. Two, you are looked at as more respectable if you make an email look clean and formal. Now, for some of you, you may not necessarily care if everyone respects you, but I think for the majority of people, respect is a valuable quality to have. Being a respectable person, being respectful to others is something that's a good value to hold. And that's personally a value I am promoting in my classroom. Of course, one of my rules in my classroom is to respect each other as you would respect yourself. So, email etiquette should give off that respectful vibe, that respectful demeanor that you all need to have for this online learning time and just in the world in general. Having respect for others and presenting yourself as a respectful person will get you pretty far in life, I'd say. Even if you're not necessarily, good at a job or something, being respectful will help you potentially get hired for that job in an email. And that sort of moves on logically to our third point. It is good practice for both the college and for both the college, sorry, for both college and the job field. Now, in college, having super formal emails, I will be honest with you all. Sometimes teachers in college do not care so much about formal emails. And it just depends on the teacher, really, as to whether they care about having super formal emails. And some teachers, even in college, do not communicate that formally through their emails. But there are some teachers who definitely care about it. There are some college teachers who really care if you have good email etiquette, if you have proper email etiquette. And it's important for those professors because those who consider it important consider it really important. Trust me. So it's sort of on different bases in college. Some teachers will not care so much about good email etiquette, but some college professors will really care. So I think it's just good practice. And in general, in the job field, I think having good email etiquette is important there too. When you're looking to get hired, it doesn't matter what job, in my opinion. And when I was looking for jobs, even when it wasn't for my teaching job, when I was just looking for online summer jobs, I always made sure to have good email etiquettes because that just makes you look like a better job candidate. If you're using improper grammar, if you're having a rude tone, if you're not signing off your email, stuff like that, then it's not likely a person is going to hire you because you look like a bad communicator and you look like a disrespectful person. So it's if not for college, then it is more important to have good email etiquette for having a job, any type of job, I would say. Four, it will improve your writing and grammar skills, which is something that is not only needed for English, but in the world in general. Having good writing and grammar skills is important for a majority of job fields. So keep that in mind. And five, respect is just an important value anytime, anywhere, and any place. Etiquette is essentially another way of saying respect or respectful tone. So just in general, email etiquette teaches you about the good values of respect, and it helps you practice those values in a different way. So, and if you get into the habit of having good email etiquette, then I think it makes you inherently more respectful in real life. So, that's something important to think about as well. Now, it's your turn. I'm going to have you all practice some email etiquette and write your own email. So I will have this assignment posted on everyone's Google Classroom. Every class, even Yearbook is doing this, you're all doing this. All the lessons are the same this week for each class. So open up your Google Classroom and then you'll look under the topic mini unit short stories. Now for Yearbook, this assignment will just be posted as a totally separate thing because this has nothing to do with what we're doing for the rest of the semester. But for my English classes, open under mini unit short stories. For Yearbook, this will just be its own thing on Google Classroom. Then open the assignment labeled email etiquette practice. And then read the directions and create your own email that follows the good email etiquette I have shown today. Now let me actually go to that assignment so I can show you all what it looks like. Oh, okay. Let me go to the assignment. Let's see. I'm going to go back to slides. Okay, so this will be on a Google slide. Now, let me go to the next slide. All right, so this is just a scenario I'm giving you all. You are having trouble accessing an assignment on Mr. Southworth's Google Classroom. And some of you all have already had trouble with this, so this isn't too far from reality. Some of you all have already emailed me out about this. But I wanted to give you all practice with this because this is something that might likely happen in the future. But you are having trouble accessing an assignment on Mr. Southworth's Google Classroom, and you are getting ready to email him. You want to ask him for help. In the template on the next slide, write an email to Mr. Southworth about this, using proper email etiquette. And now, if you all want to, you don't have to use the template, but I would honestly suggest you all do so you all can get into the practice. Now, some of you all might be asking, how do I type on this? And that's a good question. It's actually pretty easy. So, on Google Slides, what you need to do is up here in this toolbar, you'll see this, and it says text box right next to the mouse icon. You're going to click that. And I'll just show you all. I'll just start this for you all. So, of course, something you'll need in any email is a subject line. And then you'll just create however big of a text box you want. And in my subject line, and you all can just put this as your subject to missing, trouble with assignment. And then you just click out of it, and as you'll see, your text box will stay in the line where it needs to be. And you can move it around if you want. You can move it around. You can, make the line longer. You can make it shorter. You won't want to do that. You'll want to keep it longer so it stays within the box. And you can create more than one text box, so make the text box as long as you want, anything like that, however much you think you need to write your email. So that's what you do in order to type on the Google slide. And I would suggest just keeping with the template because that'll make it easier and that'll get you into the practice of actually doing this on an actual email as well. So that is your assignment for today. And this assignment is not due until Friday. Now let me remind you all of a couple things. I'm just going to go to English 2, but first of all, contact information. This is due tomorrow, preferably. If you all could turn in this contact information by tomorrow, that would be great, so I can have this in mind. Also, your digital syllabus signature is due by Friday, along with this email etiquette practice. Your digital syllabus signature is also due, so please turn that in. A lot of you all have already done it, but there's a lot of you all that haven't yet, which, I wouldn't expect you all to yet because it's the beginning of the week, but this is due Friday, so be sure to turn it in by then or before then. And contact information, even though you aren't getting graded on that, I would like that turned in as well. And Please remember, attendance, attendance, attendance. I'm going to be banging this into your all's head for a while until everyone in my classes is taking attendance. Now, the majority of you all did yesterday, which was great. There were only a couple of you in each class that didn't. And on Friday, if those of you are not consistently taking attendance, I'm going to be contacting some of you all. Not all of you, but it is so important that you all take your attendance. So please do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. If you all have any questions, please reach out to me. I will be seeing first block today at 10 a.m. Google Meet for first block, not required, of course, and then second block today from 1 to 2. There's a Google Meet. Once again, not required, but if you're having any questions for me, please attend one of those Google Meets. Even if you're in first block and can't make the 10 a.m. Google Meet, then come to the one if you have a question. All right, that's all I have for today, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. And tomorrow, let me show you all the agenda again. Tomorrow, I'll just be explaining the units we'll be learning, and there will be a little anticipation guide that I'll be going over, and that you all will be filling out, but it won't be due until next week. So that's what we'll be going over tomorrow. All right, have a good day, everyone.